In any competitive game, there will always be differing opinions on what strategy is best. In real-time strategy games, you have the aggressive strategy to build an army immediately, or you have the late-game resource managing strategy. And in the competitive modes of more character-based RPGs, many people will be familiar with the phrase fight on point, or fight on the flag, or fight for the objective. And chances are, if you're watching this video, you probably said it too. It's not that this is wrong or right, but because without a doubt, you should fight for the objective. It's a question of how. Fighting for an objective is important, but how you obtain the objective is dependent on many things, such as how the objective is obtained. If you need to stand within a capture point, there are different roles and methods for achieving that. You can be the strongest person inside it and bully everyone else out. You can be the most deadly and kill everyone else and be the winner by default. Or you can use deception and movement to contest more objectives than others. There are different roles and matchups that you need to consider as well, because you may be stronger than a player, but another player is stronger than you. In situations where you aren't the stronger one, you want to play a more deceptive role. And in situations where you are stronger, you play more aggressive. There are many other objective types, such as channeling a buff, which will favor players with control effects, or also objectives to land the killing blow on a mob. And that would favor those with burst damage. That's good and all, but the main point I want to make is that in some way, shape, or form, you need to provide presence, however your role or playstyle provides it. However, one thing that players can do and often do is tunnel vision on their role and forget that performing your role requires you to be alive. That's right, the single most important thing to winning an objective is to participate. And if you die, you get sent to spawn, you lose that objective, or your team has a significant disadvantage. What that means is, if you must stand on a capture point to win the objective, but that also means you're going to die to someone stronger than you, or being outnumbered, you will do much better not standing on that capture point. I know this sounds pretty obvious, but it's a common question, and while you should fight for the objective, you give up the objective if you die committing to it. So, in some situations, not investing into an objective and playing safer or going to another objective is better than dying for something you can't do. You are not required to fight for the objective 100% of the time, and it's actually better you don't, because it can be predictable and easy to counter. It's like this ancient Chinese proverb that I just love to repeat. It goes like this: if you chase 2 hares, you will catch none. What this means to me is that if you're greedy and try to catch 2 rabbits instead of being humble with what you can do, you'll end up with less than if you just focused on getting 1. The same thing goes for trying to perform a role you aren't specialized for or have little experience with. You'd be much better elsewhere even if your team needs this right now. Taking a 1v1 as a support role is probably not a good idea. You should be supporting your team. Don't get me wrong though, you should absolutely push your limits and try to fill in your team's weaknesses, but there's a fine line that you need to get to where you're constantly pushing and seeing how much you can get without crossing that line and getting punished. And remember, others are trying to do this too, so if you have too little presence, then they might get away with making greedy plays for free. So while dying is a very large detriment to your team, taking risks is important as well. If you die in the game, it's just a game. You don't die in real life if you die in game. Also, sometimes losses can help you improve. How do you think Vegeta became so powerful? Yes, he did train under the harshest environments and had a massive ego, but he also got his ass kicked plenty of times. It's usually better to be on the aggressive side than the passive side, because you force others to react to you rather than you reacting to them. This is like going first in chess. The enemy is always one step behind you, and it's a huge advantage. Also, all of those things I said about not dying apply to everyone else as well. So if you're scoring tons of kills, you can win the objectives because the enemy isn't there to contest it. And if you win the objective, you're now at an advantage. All those cooldowns you blew to win the fight are going to be paid off if you win because you end the fight and you can get them back for the next encounter. This leads to the snowball phenomenon. If we think of it as a game of numbers, you can have 5 versus 5. If one person is eliminated, that becomes a 5 versus 4. 5 versus 4 is much easier to handle than a 5 versus 5. So they can score even more kills, and eventually it becomes easier and easier to win, like a snowball rolling down a hill, to win as you maintain your advantage, or harder and harder to prevent that snowball from rolling down as you lose more of your allies. It sounds very deterministic and contingent on the very first kill, right? That's why games put in multiple objectives and respawn timers, so that a losing team can regroup at another objective and still have a chance of moving forward. Continuing to fight at a losing objective is going to result in that snowball getting harder and harder to push back the more you get outnumbered. That's one of the main reasons why you should not always fight for an objective. That's pretty easy, right? Losing an objective just means you should disengage before you die. There's more. What if you're winning and the enemy leaves to another objective? You can stay and win that objective, but the unaccounted for person can get kills on your team elsewhere and lead to you now being at a disadvantage because you're outnumbered, and now you can't defend the objective you stayed at. The other option is to follow and give up the objective as well to prevent the enemy team from snowballing into yours. Each option has its risks and its rewards, and there's no definitive answer, really. It would depend on many factors such as role, timing, and the positions of other players. That kind of complexity is what creates interesting and meaningful situations that keep us entertained. And simply stating fight on point is not going to work out for everyone. But at the same time, who has the time to write or read a wall of text in the heat of battle? Explaining every matchup you can take and when you do and don't need help? That's just not going to work out. So sometimes simplicity is necessary, and telling someone to fight on point is better than reciting Sun Tzu's Art of War. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about this topic, and comment ways that you have tried communicating in the heat of battle. Also, like and subscribe if you enjoy these kinds of videos, and I'll see you next one.